I was wrong. I'll admit that. I'll admit it. So I just got back from seeing Dragon Ball Super Superhero, the movie, and I do have to say, it was great. It was great. I was wrong. I'll admit, leading up to the movie, I was like, oh, the CGI, like, I can't, like, no way I'm going to see it. Now, I normally would talk about, like, oh, it's a Gohan focused movie. I'm like, I love Gohan, and hearing that was like a slice of life type of movie, I was really excited. Now, if you follow my channel, you know, I just don't like CGI in anime. You know, we have Overlord, which it's questionable. Even One Piece Stampede, that, without going into spoilers, you guys that have seen it know what I'm talking about. There is this scene, like this final battle with this, without spoiling, just the villain has this like transformation, and the CGI threw me out of it. I'm like, okay. Anyways, with this movie, I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed this movie. Now, for this video, I will put timestamps, but also in the timeline, you can see like the sections. I will start off by giving a non-spoiler review, so I won't give out like major like surprises or anything spoiler worthy, just my general thoughts on this movie. So the first portion of this video will be my thoughts without spoilers, so a non-spoiler review. I am very excited. It's been a while. If you guys have followed me from Dragon Ball Super, my channel name used to be Super Mega Frieza. I am now Jamie Uwu. So yeah, it has been like 4 years, I think like 3 or 4 years since Dragon Ball Super ended, which is crazy. But we had the Broly movie, I think like a year after that, maybe 2 years. But it's been a while. It's been a while. So I'm going to begin with my non-spoilers, so don't worry. If you haven't seen the movie yet, I won't spoil anything that you might not already know from the trailers. Yeah, so going into the movie, I kind of decided last minute today, well, it's midnight, but I saw it on Sunday, and it was kind of a last minute choice because, you know, throughout the weekend I was seeing people talk about it like, wow, this is actually really good. And I'm like, wait, what? Okay, I'm interested. I was not gonna lie, I was a little bit, it was more so I was upset because I wanted to see the movie and I wasn't feeling the style. I was not feeling it. From the trailers, I don't think it really shows just the actual animation style that you get when you see it in the theater. And I saw it in IMAX, and let me say, it was beautiful. It was stunning. Now, it's like so hard. I'm like trying not to give away anything, but let me just say that there are moments in the movie where you're like, okay, am I actually seeing 2D or is it still CGI or 3D? Because there are moments where it kind of like smoothly transitions into 2D. And then you're just seeing like really awesome like close-up shots and really amazing just visual effects. And I was just blown away. I'm like, wow, this is really good. And I know before people were like, it looks like a video game cutscene. And let me just tell you, to me, I didn't think so. I didn't think so. Without saying much about what happens, I really have to say though, if you are a big Gohan fan, if you are a Piccolo fan, you will really enjoy this movie because to me, I feel like Piccolo really shined through this movie. Leaving this movie, I was sitting here and I was like, I actually like this better than Broly. You know, Broly, the animation was beautiful, but the story was kind of there. But then most of the movie was just this big fight where you feel like, okay, it's just like a huge fight. But in this movie, it has more of a story going through it. I guess you would say it was like a slice of life with a lot of action in it, but I feel like what separates this one from Broly is the fact that even in the fights, I do feel like even through the fighting, it still carries on the story, you know? There's still an overall plot, a story, than just like these dudes just beating each other up type of thing, you know? So it had me really interested. Pan, loved Pan in this movie. She was so cute. And Gohan, like every time Gohan was on screen, I'm like, oh, Gohan, oh gosh. Even the Gamma characters, Gamma 2 was like, he was my fave. I'm sorry, Gamma 2, love him. Love him. And you see him a bit in the trailers. Just the voice acting, the characters, the new characters, I found very interesting. I will say this, if the animation, if the CGI kind of like threw you out of it, you're like, okay, I'm not going to see this movie because the CGI, that was me. I really had no interest in seeing this movie because of the CGI. And then I actually saw it and I'm like, okay, I am so glad I saw this movie. I just think it's worth it. So if you are kind of like on the edge, you're like, I don't know if I want to see it. Maybe I'll see it. I highly recommend you seeing it, especially if you love Dragon Ball. Like, if you love Dragon Ball Z, you love Dragon Ball, you love Dragon Ball Super, or just any of that. If you are huge fans of Piccolo and Gohan, I highly recommend you seeing this movie. Now, if it's showing in IMAX at your theater, I would really recommend that because the visuals were just like, my eyes were like, whoa, this is amazing. But that is more of my non-spoiler review. The story was solid. But yes, there was a cute story in that movie. Really loved it. Enjoyed it. Was laughing. There also were a lot of funny jokes. Now, I saw the dub, so I don't know really if the sub adds in some of the jokes that the dub added in, but there were moments where I was laughing. I was laughing a lot in this movie. You know, there were some pretty great jokes in it. So if you have a friend, family, even going by yourself, like, go ahead. I don't really know, like, the trailers do show a lot, but I still don't want to, like, go into the main story points just in case you haven't seen it because, you know, I went into it seeing a few spoilers, but seeing the movie in general, not really knowing what the plot was going to be or anything, I enjoyed it a lot. So I just don't want to give away, like, a lot of things. But yes. But again, I highly recommend it. Okay, so I am going to jump in my spoiler review right now. So if you have not seen the movie, I advise you to click off. But if you don't care for spoilers and you want to hear my thoughts anyways, well, enjoy. Now, the movie begins with, actually, I'm pretty sure it was like 2D. We had reanimated clips from Dragon Ball. Now, I've never really seen all of Dragon Ball. I've seen like big events in the anime, but I haven't like actually watched all of Dragon Ball. I'm sorry. Basically, they were showcasing all of the Red Ribbon Army stuff, which I feel like after seeing this movie, which also something this movie does is I feel like it could be a standalone Dragon Ball movie. Like, if you have a family member, a friend, a kid that has not seen the anime, which I feel like is very rare because I feel like Dragon Ball is just everywhere. Dragon Ball Z, like, people know what a Kamehameha is. Like, we know all of it. But I feel like if you don't have that knowledge, you could even go into this movie and watch it without being like, okay, what? Because they go into a little bit on the history of the Red Ribbon Army. So you get all of that information. And it was just animated so good. Like, the visuals in the very beginning, I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. After that, though, I was a little bit afraid to actually get into the movie because I'm like, okay, I know the movie is CGI. Like, this is going to be an interesting transition. But to me, I feel like it worked. When I saw it in the very beginning, I'm like, okay, this is a little different. But even the talking, like you meet Magenta. Magenta? Yes, Magenta was the dude's name. I'm like, there's a color. Red Ribbon Army, Magenta. It's like, yes. And they did these fun little, like, what do you say, title cards, I guess? And it was just like, boom, like kind of like a comic book. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty entertaining. And I know the theater had some like chuckles to that. They're like, okay, what is this? Like, we're giving them title cards. Okay. It was fun, though. It was fun. It was like bright and colorful and poppy. And there was some humor in the beginning. And then we lead into Dr. Hedo and finding out that he is Dr. Giro's grandson and information about him. But what was interesting is when you actually meet this guy, you're like, okay, like he's going to be evil, cool villain, a very interesting character design. Like he is really smart. I'm like, okay, villain character. But when you like actually meet his character, you sit here and you're like, oh, this is where they're going with this, huh? And he wants to create like superheroes. Like, he's all about that. He's like, superhero, I want them to look cool. And then I'm like, wait, hold up. Like, I thought he was going to be the villain. But this is what I find interesting in the story, is the fact that you have Magenta like manipulating him, which later on it kind of was revealed that he realized that, in a sense. He's like, well, you know what? He manipulated me and I just wanted funding. So at first, going off of, like I said, from the trailer, I'm like, this guy looks stupid. Like, I don't know. But I actually really liked Hedo in this movie. I really did, because he had humanity to him and he wasn't just all about doing evil things. Like, there was a moment where they stole Pan and he's like, no, like, we're not going to kidnap a kid. And I feel like they did a really good job with this character. Like, there were moments where he was likable. You know, I didn't really think I ever disliked him. You know, now that I think of it, I don't think there was ever a moment where I looked at him and I'm like, oh, he's evil. Like, I don't think so. I don't think so. So overall, villain, I wouldn't really call him that. He kind of was a villain, but mostly he was being manipulated, fed lies about the Red Ribbon Army. And it was funny when they were talking about Bulma and like, ooh, Bulma, Capsule Corp, like evil, like villain, and like creating this like alien army and some ridiculous stuff like that. And I'm sitting here like, oh, this is like freaking Bulma. But I mean, Bulma is kind of scary, not gonna lie. She is kind of scary. She's a very smart woman. She's got the money. So watch out. But what I do have to say though, is because I was told Frieza was kind of in this movie, and he wasn't really. He wasn't really. And I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to think, when they were just talking about like the Saiyans and these aliens that were a threat to Earth, we got to see a little flashback of Frieza being killed by Trunks. I'm like, but it was like reanimated. And then Frieza was brought up again. I'm trying to remember, was he brought up by Goku and Vegeta? I can't. There's a point where you see Frieza again, and we kind of do like a camera pan around his head, and then just seeing him on his ship, and that was pretty much it for that. So Frieza had very little to no involvement in this story, which was kind of sad. But you know what? He was big and Broly, which I can't just always have Frieza, huh? I just always want to see Frieza. Frieza's so awesome! I'm pretty sure after all this, now I've only seen it once, so I'm kind of trying to recall everything, which it's pretty fresh in my noggin, so hopefully I don't miss anything. We cut to Piccolo and Pan, which I have to say, like, adorable. Piccolo had so many good moments in this movie that, you know, I never was not a Piccolo fan, but I just feel like he was always overshadowed by characters like Goku and Vegeta. And, you know, in Dragon Ball Z, he had his moments too. But I feel like slowly after that, it kind of like faded away. So that's something I really appreciate out of this movie. And, you know, I feel like they are kind of poking fun at Goku not really being there as a father. And then there were moments where it was like, okay, no one's gonna be here for Pan, but Piccolo's kind of stuck taking care of her, training her. And Pan is adorable. I'm glad that we get like little Pan, and I really hope that if the anime comes back, we can just like keep them aged a little bit, because this Pan was so adorable, so cute. I want to see her fight more. I want to see her just like become this really cool fighter, since again, Videl, they just kind of pushed Videl out. You know, I was really sad because growing up in Dragon Ball Z, Videl was a character I really like looked up to. I was like, Videl is awesome. And that fight that always sticks with me, I think it's Spopovich when Videl fought him. And just that intense, like, that was intense. That fight was brutal. So I was a little sad. I'm like, okay, Videl is just going to be on the phone. I'm pretty sure we only really saw her on a phone call in this movie. Videl not really showing up anymore is really sad. But you know what? Pan's a really cool character. So I hope in the future we get like more of Pan. That'd be pretty sweet. I feel like in this moment, you kind of get the overall theme of what this movie is going to be, especially when Piccolo brings up that Gohan is slacking, he's not really training, like what happens if someone's gonna show up? And I feel like they poke a little fun at it, like, oh, what's gonna happen? Because when you think of it, we have Goku and Vegeta. Goku and Vegeta. Like, I feel like at this point, they are so strong that it would have to be a huge threat to actually, do damage to Earth, because we have Goku, we have Vegeta, we have Beerus, like, we have all these strong dudes, and now Goku with Ultra Instinct. It's like, what now? So Piccolo, having daddy duties, basically. Picking up Pan from school, having to do all of that. So in this moment, I was kind of like, okay, maybe this will be the point of the movie. We will have, Gohan's big moment. And I will say right now that I did spoil myself on Gohan's transformation, Piccolo's transformation, just because I didn't think I was going to see this movie. So I was just asking people, I'm like, wait, did anything really bizarre happen? And I was being sent these screenshots of their forms, and I'm like, what? Not gonna lie, from the pictures, which I really feel like were distorted from whoever took them and posted them online, because when I saw those same scenes in the movie, I thought they looked okay. The transformations, Gohan and Piccolo, we'll talk about that later though. That's later on in the review. But I'm just going to say, going into it, knowing that Gohan was going to transform, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the point of the movie. Piccolo's making a point like, hey, Gohan, you need to train. Okay? And I'm like, oh, so this is how he's going to get a new form, huh? But I feel like how it actually turned out was more interesting than like what my head was conjuring up. I'm like, okay, I feel like I kind of know where the plot's going. But then we were introduced to Gamma 2. Which, oh my gosh, I loved his character, his poses, like he did the cute little superhero pose. And, the moment I thought was really clever was Piccolo was like, wait, I can see your sound effects. And at first I'm like, okay, are we breaking the fourth wall here? But then you find out that they were using like holograms, because I think it was Gamma 1. Like you see it shorting out or something, or maybe it was Gamma 2. I don't know. At some point when we're back to the Red Ribbon Army base, you see that and you're like, oh, that's pretty clever. Like, that's pretty clever. Seeing Gamma 2 and Piccolo fight, like, love the visuals. I know in the trailer they showed some of the fight, but actually seeing the entire thing, I was just like, wow. But then we end up going back to the Red Ribbon Army base, which you find out, like, Max and these villains, like what their plan is, and Piccolo's there, and it's kind of funny him acting like undercover. Then we transition to, Piccolo contacting Bulma. So from there, we actually figure out like where Goku and Vegeta are. And to me, you really didn't need that. I mean, yes, the fan service, that was all cool and stuff, but you really didn't need Goku and Vegeta. You did get this really funny moment, though, which was a little disturbing with Beerus and Chile. I still, like, the crowd was like, what? And laughing. Like, that was probably the loudest reaction. Because, like, Chile, it was like, Beerus, like, had an entire body tingle to her. And I'm like, like, what? We do, like, a little close-up on her, and she's like, oh, sparkles and, like, cuteness. And Beerus just... That was unexpected. Honestly, it kind of freaked me out a bit, but it was funny. And then Whis is like, well, Beerus is a type. But it was really interesting just hearing him like flirt with her. And like throughout the movie, there were other moments like with the ice cream and stuff, and just Beerus being thirsty. It's like, okay, chill, dude, chill. But I found that really funny. And then we had Goku and Vegeta start their sparring match, which, again, in the end credits, you see how that is resolved, which was pretty great. But you find out why. Like, in my head, I'm like, okay, why won't Goku and Vegeta show up? And to me, I was thinking, okay, maybe Goku, like, knew, but he's like, oh, Gohan can do it. Or, he was trusting Piccolo. Or he's like, you know what? Good training. Good training. But the reason they didn't show up was because of the ice cream that ended up on Whis' like staff. It was like, what? It was so silly and ridiculous, but it's like, okay, this is why they're not showing up. Sure, whatever. okay, they had Goku and Vegeta, like, Broly in the trailers because, you know, everyone loves Goku, everyone loves Vegeta. People love the Broly movie, like, that's probably why they even added that, because you really didn't need it. You honestly didn't. You could have cut that from the movie and it would have been just fine. Something that seemed like a really big reach for me was upgrading the dragon. Did they ever do that in Dragon Ball Z? I don't know. I don't know. Because, you know, Piccolo wanted to unlock his potential, and then you see, like, back in Namek, like, little flashbacks, which they use throughout the movie. Like, the flashbacks are more of, like, 2D art, which I really liked. I thought it looked great. They get the dragon because Bulma has all the balls. Oh, wait. Okay, I think that's when you see Frieza. Yeah, now it's coming back to me. You get that. That's where the flash of Frieza comes in, because they were talking about the Dragon Balls and like why Bulma's collecting them all to this point in the movie, which I was just like, okay. So in this part of the movie, Piccolo wishes, you know, for his unlocked potential. Yeah, okay. Bulma, there are 2 wishes left. Bulma wishes for a curvier, younger, youthful ass. Like, okay. Okay. That was insane, but it was funny to see Piccolo's reaction to that. But I was just like, wait, this is actually real. Like, in my head, I'm like, this is actually real. What? Like, what? What is this? That was insane. And I was laughing because I'm like, well, it's funny. And then, you know, I was like still in shock from her butt wish that I'm pretty sure her second wish was either no wrinkles or eyelashes. I can't remember. I think it was the eyelashes though. I'm not sure. Okay. That was the thing that happened. That was pretty funny. But getting to the actual like fight of the movie, at this point, you know, Piccolo's thinking, he's like, okay, you know what? If they want to steal Pan because they're really trying to draw in Gohan to the Red Ribbon Army base, in that moment, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is going to be kind of what happens, because Piccolo goes along with the plan to steal Pan, but then, like, she figures out that, you know, it's Piccolo, and he tells her the plan. So this big thing is a setup to get Gohan to show up there, you know? And I was just thinking, I'm like, what if Gohan just, like, didn't show up, and, you know, they did take a little video of Pan like, help me, Dad. It was so funny. I feel like the humor in this movie was really well done because I was laughing a lot. Just the silly moments, especially Piccolo. Piccolo had me laughing the entire time. The dude's hilarious, and the voice acting was just so good too. But we have Pan. We get to see her kick that one dude. When she's actually brought to the base, then they go get Gohan. And this is where you see Gohan in action when they show up to his house with Piccolo and that other dude, the other Red Ribbon Army soldier guy. And seeing Gohan power up, that part, like, I was like, okay, it looks a little weird, like with the ground, and then the house eventually kind of like tilts. I thought it was really cool, like seeing him get angry like that, asking about his daughter. The voice acting was on point. And this is where I was getting like really excited, like an adrenaline rush. I'm like, yes, like Dragon Ball fights, here we go. Because I did love the story in it. But something about fights in Dragon Ball Z just really get you going. And I was just like, yes, Gohan, yes. From this point on, it's just like hype, hype, hype. Like the fight with Gohan and the Gammas, and then we have Piccolo join the fight, and Pan's just kind of watching. And there are some moments you're a little worried because you're like, well, they have the Cell Max that they were talking about early on in the movie, but we did make a point like, hey, you know what? It won't be ready. And having Gohan and Piccolo fight the Gammas, Piccolo's kind of like worn down, and I'm pretty sure, okay, Piccolo was fighting Gamma 2, Gohan was fighting Gamma 1, and there was a moment, okay, this is where you finally get Piccolo transforming into his new, like, latent potential form, and it was cool. The transformation, like, Piccolo was falling because of his fight with Gamma 2, and Gamma 2 was, like, knocking him around, and there's, like, this, like, tree of life type thing that forms on his back, and he's falling, and then you hear the dragon. That entire moment was so epic. I feel like I was like, okay, I know Piccolo has this new form, but this was like the entire lead up to that moment was so just it was epic. It was awesome. The music, just the visuals, and then you finally see his form, which is awesome. It looks so good in this movie. That's why I'm like so confused. I'm like, I feel like whoever posted those pictures before, like edited them, altered them, because it looks so much better when you actually like saw the movie. And this form is called Orange Piccolo, which I mean, Piccolo is kind of like, whatever, I'm not going to give it a special name. Just call it Orange Piccolo. But that moment you see Gamma 2 like punching him and nothing is happening. And he's like, boom, 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 boom. Like he keeps punching him. And that you see he's a little nervous and then boom, he knocks him. But I feel like that entire just moment in general was just freaking sweet. And then you have Magenta and Carmine, I think the other guy's name was. Forgot. Whatever. But they go to activate Cell Max and it kind of chills out for a moment. So you had Piccolo transform, and even before Piccolo showed up, there was that moment where Piccolo was like pretending like he was like holding up Pan by the neck, but he also was like holding her up. So it's not even like she was in danger or anything. And you get the ultimate Gohan form, which it's like, yeah, Gohan. Just seeing Gohan go from nerdy boy to like super Chad, it's like, yes, Gohan! And then we have kind of a sensu bean gag where Piccolo is going to give Gohan a sensu bean. He drops it, which I felt like was going to be important later on, and I will tell you just why. I'll bring that up though, like what I was thinking was gonna happen. But going back to the activation of Cell Max, like, okay, we had this moment, which Dr. Hedo, he did mention early on in the movie, and I didn't even remember that, to be honest, was that, like, his blood was, like, mutated or something, or his skin, so bullets wouldn't affect him. And my entire theater, it was just, we were in shock, okay? I feel like a lot of people probably forgot, but you have this moment where Magenta shoots him. Okay, and we have Hedo on the ground, and then he keeps shooting him, and then he freaking shoots him again, like in the head, and it is actually a little bit brutal. I feel like everyone was like, okay, and like there was like awkward laughter like in the movie because like a couple seats away from me, like there were kids there. So like seeing this guy get offed for that brief moment that even I thought he actually wasn't gonna come back. And then he did, and I'm like, oh, duh. He brought that up before with the bullets. Like, in the moment, I didn't think of that, and I'm just like, that's twisted. And then Magenta dies. I'm pretty sure he died. I mean, he got stung by Dr. Hedo's wasp that even with body modifications, the poison will still kill you. So I'm going to assume that Magenta is actually dead. Then Dr. Hedo was talking and he wasn't looking. We had Magenta actually break the machine, releasing Cell Max, going to the final portion of the movie, which, again, I knew about Cell Max. I knew about Gohan's transformation, which I'm pretty sure is called, like, Beast Gohan. So we go back up. You have Goten, you have Trunks join, in which the crowd was like, oh my gosh, like, they're older, which they're on the movie poster, like, outside my theater. So I guess some people were still a little shocked that they were older in that movie. But then poor Krillin getting joked on, like, he's useless. Basically, like, the Yamcha jokes were coming at Krillin, but then you think about it and you're like, Krillin is like, what else can he do at this point? Like, not a lot. We had 18, which I don't think I even realized that 18 was going to be in this movie. I don't think. Because I was a little shocked when I saw her. I'm like, oh, 18, cool. And then, you know, the senzu bean gag we had where Piccolo was going to give Gohan a senzu bean and Gohan drops it. It's like, of course, of course. And then bringing us to the final portion of the movie, Cell Max showing up, wreaking havoc, which honestly, the visuals at this point were insane. They were insane. There were cool light effects. There was cool animation. There were cool shots just in general. Like, there were really cool shots where you had Cell. There were points where I'm like, how big is Cell Max? Because it felt like his size kept changing throughout the fight and just the angles that they were using. So I'm like, okay, how big is this dude actually? You also have the ultimate troll move by, you know, Gotenks doing a fusion. but it failing, and we get Fat Gotenks. The disappointment on everyone's face when they turned into Fat Gotenks was like, what? Like, what the heck? It was a little disappointing. But it does make sense. I mean, even they were talking about, like, wait, how do you do the fusion dance? Like, it would have been really impressive if after all of these years of not using it, they remembered. Which, honestly, I feel like they didn't do a fusion because maybe they're saving it for a future movie, maybe for the anime, because a lot of people want to see an older Gotenks do fusion. And, you know, I guess if they did end up doing the fusion and it being successful, that probably would have taken away the spotlight from Gohan and Piccolo. Not gonna lie. So it's probably best that they didn't do that, even though it would have been awesome. But, you know, the fight with Cell Max, we have Cell, this raging monster. Like, when you think of Cell, you don't think of what we were getting, because even in Cell's second form, he was pretty intelligent. He spoke full sentences, and like, this creature looks like Cell in his second form, but he just kind of rages off like a monster, which they did say that, you know, well, Dr. Hedo said, if we release him too soon, like, he's not going to be like the Cell you want him to be, and he definitely wasn't, which is a little sad, because just imagine, like, a Cell like we got in the Cell games, like, witty and intelligent and like that Cell compared to just raging monster. That's like one little complaint I have, is I feel like have him able to speak, even if it's not like the Cell. I don't know, because I felt like the ending was a little weird to me because of that. But one moment that really hurt my soul was with Gamma 2, because I loved his character and he did such a heroic thing trying to take out Cell Max. Like, doing a full-on just collision with him, using all of his power, rushing in there, and it makes me sad. That really made me sad. And then even at the end, like, rest in peace, Gamma 2. Gamma 1 was okay, but Gamma 2 had a lot of the personality. He was really funny, and it just made me sad that happened. But then you get the final moments, you know, everyone's fighting. We get these cool shots of just everyone going in, trying to take down Cell. The audio in that movie theater was loud. That was probably the loudest besides Demon Slayer, because I saw that in Dolby. But this was loud. Sometimes I'm like, ow, this is actually hurting my ears. The roaring, the sound effects. I'm like, whoa, okay, it's pretty loud in here. And, you know, throughout the movie, you have these little hints of Piccolo, like, you know what, Gohan has to improve. He's not going to train on his own. And then we go into this moment where Piccolo is going to fight Cell. And it's pretty obvious that he wants Gohan to excel. Like, he wants Gohan to unlock every little piece of freaking potential he has in this fight. So we have Piccolo just fighting, and obviously Piccolo is fully aware that, you know, Gohan is going to watch Cell beat him up, because even Piccolo was saying that he doesn't even think that he can take Cell. He gets huge. The thing is, Piccolo transforms, oh, not really transforms. He grows in size, because Krillin's like, remember when you got huge that one time, Piccolo? And that was a Dragon Ball thing, because we flash back to Dragon Ball when he fights Goku in the tournament, he was saying. So we have Piccolo grow in size, and he's like the same size as Cell, but Piccolo says he's not stronger, and like, you can see that he's aware that he can't win this fight, and him just going in there fighting Cell. And I was sitting here, I'm like, oh, it's all a part of Piccolo's plan, because he wants Gohan to reach his full potential. And that's what really had me just like in awe with Piccolo in that entire movie. I'm like, Piccolo is a great teacher. He's a great teacher. And, you know, this brutal moment where Cell was just blasting Piccolo, and then he has him like up like this, and Gohan sees that, and you have like an entire very callback to Dragon Ball Z where Android 16 gets stepped on by Cell. Gohan transforms into Super Saiyan 2. It was kind of like that moment, because you had that like spark, that visual just like spark unleashing in Gohan. Like when he sees his friend, when he sees Piccolo like that, and you finally get his form. People in the crowd were kind of like, okay. Gohan. Because I do have to say, I'm like, Dragon Ball Z is getting a little crazy. That's the thing with like, I feel like there's a limit to how many transformations you can do. And you know, we have Goku and Vegeta and all of their forms, the God, Super Saiyan, God, Super Saiyan. There's a lot. There's so much. And there will always be more, it seems. But to be honest, like, at first I'm like, okay, it looks silly. But when you actually see it in the movie, his hair was like the weirdest thing in the pictures I would see. I'm like, okay, that hair looks wild. But in the movie, I really liked it. It was epic. And I do have to say, the final just blast, Gohan using the special beam cannon, I was like fangirling. I'm like, oh my gosh, like he used it. And I thought that was so, like, that was adorable. And I know, like, guys are like, wait, that's not adorable. That was freaking epic. Okay, it was epic, but also it was cute because Piccolo, like him using Piccolo's move, and he looked badass, just like, I loved it. The visuals for that were just insane. That final move in Gohan's new form was epic. Like, it was an epic conclusion, and then the entire fight is over. They won because obviously, like, going into it, you're like, they're definitely gonna win this fight. There's no way. And they won the fight. It's all happy. And then Gamma 2, like, Thanos dusted away, which was really sad. And here's what I thought was going to happen. When I saw the movie, and there was the moment where Piccolo was going to give Gohan the senzu bean and he drops it, I really thought they were going to find that senzu bean and give it to Gamma 2 and maybe save him. Like, in my head, in that moment, up until he dusted away, I'm like, and I really thought they were going to give him the senzu bean. I'm like, okay, time to save him. And then they didn't. And that, like, actually kind of made me sad. I think I teared up just like a teeny bit. I'm like, no way. Gamma 2 was such a cool character. And now we're stuck with Gamma 1. Like, Gamma 1's okay. I feel like we didn't get a lot of his personality, and he seemed a lot more serious than Gamma 2. But I really loved Gamma 2, and just the fact that they actually got rid of his character like that. And this was the point where Dr. Hedo was like, well, I kind of knew that they were up to no good, but I just wanted the funding. Like I said earlier in the review, and Bulma's like, hey, can you like fix my wrinkles and stuff? I mean, when you have to think of Bulma in her position, I mean, she's with Vegeta, and Saiyans don't really age that fast, you know? Like, they don't age. Just imagine, like, she'll get all wrinkly and Vegeta will still look young. Like, that must be stressful. Bulma has to keep herself alive for a long time because soon she will outgrow Vegeta. And also the big moment where Pan flies at the end of the movie, and she did, I think the first time she flew in the movie was when Cell Max, like that huge blast was going on, and you see her fly away because she's like up in the sky. And then at the end, she kind of shows it off to everyone. And then we had Goten and Trunks do the fusion dance, and I'm pretty sure they actually like touched their fingers properly. So that was like a huge tease. It was like, oh, they did it, but you can't see it. It's like, but the sweet moment with Dr. Hedo, you know, they were telling him, you know, Gamma 2 was a real superhero. Like, he sacrificed himself to save them. And he was kind of torn because he was like, yeah, but I created Cell Max. Like, even though the Gammas were his, like, prized possessions, he programmed them to be true heroes, which is kind of like the title of the movie, Superhero. Because, you know, Dr. Hedo, all he wanted was, like, heroes. He wanted to create really cool heroes. And just him losing Gamma 2 was really sad because he was, like, upset about it. I am too, dude. Overall, it was a very cute movie. I loved it. It had really epic fights. The animation, way better than I thought it was going to be. And I was wrong. Yes, I was. I highly recommend you seeing this. Again, if you've watched this entire just me talking about the movie, I would hope that you saw it. And you know, there were like fun little jokes throughout the movie. Like we had Piccolo flying a spaceship, and then there was that Dragon Ball Z episode where Piccolo couldn't drive. And we kind of made a joke towards that, which I enjoyed. There was a lot of like hints at previous things and just references throughout the movie, which was really cool. I know on Twitter I posted like my straight out of theater thoughts. And some people were like, did you see the credits? Yes, I saw the end credits. And it was funny. The crowd was laughing because we had the finale of Goku versus Vegeta. Vegeta actually winning the fight. And he's like, yes, I won. Like, it was funny. We had Chile, who was kind of like, oh my gosh. It was funny when she was like, what did she say? I think she said like guys are lame or something. And there was someone in the crowd that's like, hell yeah, girl. When she said that, I thought that was pretty funny. But we had Broly really like crying because they were just like so invested in the fight. And I guess they were doing it for hours or something like that. And then ending off with Whis like, whoopsies. Finally getting the call from Bulma is just like, I'm just blown away. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. You know, after hearing people say it was good, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna go see it. And then actually leaving the movie, I was sitting here like, wow, I am actually glad I saw it. I loved it. Like, I loved the movie. I loved the characters. Hedo really liked his character. Magenta was like, that guy. But you were supposed to not like that guy. Now I'd have to say Gamma 2 as well. I just wish that he had a better outcome. But this, I would say that I think Piccolo was even in this movie more than Gohan. This was a very Piccolo movie. So Piccolo fans, rise up, because that was great. Would not mind to get a Frieza movie, like full-on Frieza movie. Like what he's doing now, I would totally love just an hour and a half of Frieza doing Frieza things right now. Comment down below if you would love a Frieza movie. And also, comment if you were very surprised with how much you enjoyed the movie. Comment if you didn't enjoy the movie. Comment just your thoughts. Like, what did you like about the movie? And hearing that Dragon Ball Super might return, or Dragon Ball, whatever it would be, Dragon Ball Z, I don't know. I heard some people say it might not be called Super if it ever returns. But again, I feel like every year people are like, Dragon Ball's coming back, and then it doesn't. So I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt. I don't really keep up much with the news, so I'm not going to really state things because I'm not sure if the anime is coming back. This movie just awakened my love for Dragon Ball. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay fresh and bye.